Okay guys, so today we are going to start with a nice little review, and then we're going to take a look at simplifying what we learned yesterday. So when we get to the second slide, if you do not have a calculator near you, you're going to want to pause the video and go grab one. I would recommend a scientific one. It'll make your life easier. If not, at least have your chart with you so you can simplify some of these values. So again, we're going to start off by reviewing what we talked about yesterday. So we're going to rewrite each expression in radical form. So I'm going to take that 216 and I'm going to have some root of it. Well, what root is it going to be? It's going to be the third root because of that denominator of 3. And the exponent is going to be 1 to the first power, so I don't need to change anything there. Next, I'm going to have my radical of 8. It is going to be the third root, and that 8 is going to be squared because that numerator of 2. Number 3, I have some radical of 81. It's the fourth radical because of the 4 in my denominator. My numerator is just 1, so there's that invisible 1 there, but it's also negative, so that means I need to make it into a fraction and have it be 1 over that whole radical. Alright, going backwards, I have 243 to some exponent value. That exponent is going to have the denominator of 5 because it's the fifth root, and a numerator of 2 because it is squared. So 243 to the 2/5. And again, try and make your exponents small. It's kind of hard to do on my computer. I'm sorry, I'm trying as best I can. That's why I was making my pen a little thinner, so that was easier to do. Number 5, we're going to have that 32, some exponent. The denominator is going to be that index of 5. The numerator will be that power of 2. So I have 32 to the 2 over 5. Oops, I just did that one. There we go. And then lastly, I have that 4, some exponent. My index here is that invisible 2. I have a power of 3, and I see it's a fraction, so I need to stick on that negative sign. So negative 3 over 2. Alright, this is your moment of calculator and or chart, so please pause if you do not have at least one of those two things. So these are the examples from the review that we just did. What we're going to do is we're going to evaluate the actual answer of them. So I had the cube root of 216. So I'm going to take and find the cube root of 216. Which again, if you have your calculator, you can do it on your calculator, or if you have your chart, you should see that answer. It just gives you 6. Alright, for this next one, we had the cube root of 8 squared. Now there's two different ways to approach this. So we talked about yesterday being able to write it as I did in red, or having the cube root of 8 quantity squared. Either way I said is correct. One is not more right than the other. When I go to solve these, sometimes I find it easier to take the radical, depending on what type of radical, and then do the power. The reason being is because we undo the big numbers. And I like to undo a big number and then make that a big number again. So for example, if I did the red part first, I have to do my exponent first. I'm going to take 8 squared, or 8 times 8. Well, then I have the cube root of 64, which, yes, the cube root of 64 is on my chart. I can easily see that. I don't have my chart on me. I'm a terrible person. So that gives me 4. So I took that 8 squared first, got 64, and then took the cube root of 64 and got 4. Or I can take the cube root of 8, which if you look on your chart gives you 2, and then take that 2 value and square it, and 2 times 2 is 4. So again, 2 different ways to solve these. I personally think the second way is easier because sometimes we get super large numbers under our radicals that aren't on our chart, and it can be, if you have one of my graphing calculators you can find it, but say you're at home trying to work on this, it's really hard to try and figure out what the fourth root of some very large number is without it being on that chart. So I'm going to approach it the second way versus the first way. All right, and number 3, we have the radical of 81. We had that fourth root, and it was all over 1. The fourth root of 81 gives me 3, but that fraction doesn't get to just disappear, so it's 1 over 3. All right, these next 3. I find it easier to be able to solve my answer like this compared to when it's in the fraction form. So with these next 3, I'm not going to rewrite them. I'm just going to solve them. Because I can see it's a cube root of 216, for example, in number 1, easier when it's written that way versus in exponential form. So I find it easier, like I said, to solve this way. So number 4, I'm going to take the square root of 243. Just kidding, that's not a perfect number, is it? So I'm going to take the 243 to the 5th power. I'm missing something. I feel like I'm missing something. So it's quite a large number. Ah, I know what it is. Remember how I told you these are supposed to be the ones from the slide before? Well, this is backwards. This is actually supposed to say the 5th root, so there needs to be the 5th root of this squared. So we're flipping those numbers. That's why it doesn't make sense. I'm like, I can't take that. That's not a perfect square. It doesn't work. What's going on? My apologies. So fix that one. Flip-flop those 2 numbers. Let's try this one more time. We're going to take the 5th root of 243, which is going to give me a value of 3. That squared on the outside has not gone away yet, so 3 squared is going to give me 9, which is 3 times 3. Okay, same idea. We're going to take the 5th root of 32, which gives me 2. I'm going to take that value squared because I still have that exponent, which gives me 4. Sorry, I'm writing so big. Number 6, I have 1 over the square root of 4 is 2. So I have 2 cubed, which is the same thing as 2 times 2 times 2. 2 times 2 gives me 4. 4 times 2 gives me 8. So my answer is 1 over 8. Alright, that's all I got for you for notes. I know they're quite short, but I feel like a lot of this is just practice, practice, practice. So go ahead and work on your homework. Once you get done with that, move on to your review, and then talk to me before you start your next quiz. All right, I will see you guys later.